The first sound hit me like a tremor, vibrating through the floorboards at exactly 3:12 a.m. I froze, heart hammering, unsure if it was real or some nightmare spilling into reality. Slipping out of bed, I moved cautiously to the window, every creak of the wooden floor beneath me amplifying the tension. The darkness outside was thick, but my eyes quickly adjusted. What I saw made my stomach twist. A deep trench, perfectly circular, surrounding half my property, illuminated faintly by the weak beam of flashlights. My initial confusion dissolved into rage when I realized the workers weren't random construction guys. They were clearly hired by someone who knew my house. Shadows shifted, machinery hummed ominously, and a tall figure giving orders came into focus. It was the HOA president, Marjorie, clipboard in hand, her voice low but commanding. My hidden cameras, installed discreetly weeks ago, were recording everything. Relief and excitement pulsed through me. I had proof before even understanding the motive. Memories of petty fines and harassment flooded back. My mailbox, too flashy, grass deemed non-compliant, and even my garden gnomes targeted. That $2,500 fine for improper mailbox color was nothing compared to what they were attempting now. I gripped my phone tightly, fingers shaking as I opened the live camera feed. Every angle of my yard, every creeping shadow, came to life on the screen. Marjorie's voice rang out clearly. "Dig it deeper. He won't be able to leave in the morning." The audacity of their plan made me almost laugh in disbelief. Every second of footage was a dagger to my nerves. I could see the trench widening, the dirt flying like sinister confetti, every motion precise and calculated. I thought of calling the authorities, but my mind raced. Would they arrive in time? I needed the perfect evidence first. My neighbors, usually asleep at this hour, were oblivious to the creeping injustice surrounding my home. Whispered to myself, "They have no idea I'm watching." Relief surged as I realized the tables could be turned. My mind flashed back to every petty dispute, every unfair fine, every condescending HOA notice. Each one had led to this moment of ultimate injustice on their part. By 3:47 a.m., the trench was almost complete, machines clanking in harmony like a perverse symphony, every movement captured by my silent witnesses, the cameras. I took a deep breath, knowing that when daylight came, I could present indisputable evidence of harassment and criminal behavior. Sleep-deprived but determined, I positioned my cameras to ensure no angle was missed, documenting every hand movement, every whispered order, every ounce of their misguided confidence as the machinery roared outside. I paced inside my dark living room, every pass across the hardwood floor echoing the rising fury building inside me. I replayed the audio from camera 3, zooming onto Marjorie's face. She looked confident, smug, almost victorious, as if this trench was the masterstroke that would force me out of the neighborhood. My hands trembled not out of fear, but anticipation. They thought they were 10 steps ahead, but they didn't realize I had outplayed them weeks ago by installing those cameras. 24. The live feed from camera 5 captured something even darker. 2 HOA board members scanning my windows with flashlights, like predators ensuring their prey stayed asleep. "He won't notice until morning," one whispered, chuckling nervously, unaware he was being filmed in high definition. The trench grew deeper, the edges precise, the circle tightening around my property like a noose. The symbolism wasn't lost on me. They wanted control, and this was their boldest move yet. I lowered myself onto the couch, gripping my phone, knowing the footage I held wasn't just incriminating. It was explosive. By 4:10 a.m., the workers began shutting down the machinery. Their flashlights dimmed one by one. When they left, slipping into the night like a criminal cleanup crew, I stayed awake, adrenaline refusing to let me rest. The sun rose slowly, revealing the true scale of the destruction. The trench was monstrous, 4 feet deep, 6 feet wide, circling nearly my entire home. I stepped outside, the morning air cool against my face, and I stared at the deep cut carved into my yard. It felt like looking into an open wound. I walked the perimeter, filming everything from my phone. The depth, the width, the machinery tracks, the footprints. Evidence layered on evidence. From camera 2, I captured the timestamp, 3:12 a.m. to 4:27 a.m. An entire illegal construction project completed while the neighborhood slept. I tried starting my truck out of instinct, but the wheels spun inches from the trench's edge. I was boxed in exactly as they intended. I dialed the sheriff's office, explaining the situation in quick breaths. The dispatcher paused, stunned, then assured me a deputy was on the way. As I waited, neighbors slowly emerged from their homes, murmuring among themselves, their shocked faces confirming just how outrageous the scene looked in daylight. Mrs. Carter, the elderly lady from across the street, rushed over with her hands covering her mouth. "Oh my goodness! Who did this to you?" "The HOA," I said calmly, though anger simmered beneath every word. "I have everything on camera." Her eyes widened. "They've gone too far this time." When the sheriff arrived, his boots crunched the earth around the trench as he surveyed the site with a mixture of disbelief and irritation. "This is extensive," he muttered, leaning over the edge with a frown. "This isn't an accident." I nodded and handed him my tablet, loaded with the overnight footage. His expression darkened with each passing second of video. When Marjorie's voice came through the speakers, "Make it deeper. He won't leave tomorrow." The sheriff stiffened like he'd be. Meanwhile, contractors were called by the county to safely fill the trench. Heavy machinery rolled in, undoing hours of illegal work in minutes. Dirt cascaded back into the void, each scoop feeling like justice being restored, each rumble a reminder that the HOA no longer had the power they thought they wielded. As the trench disappeared, a deputy walked over holding a stack of printed HOA emails uncovered from the office. Emails discussing me. "They planned this for weeks," he said grimly. "They wanted you gone so they could repurpose your land." My suspicion was confirmed. The trench wasn't random retaliation. It was a strategic move to force me into selling or abandoning my property. By afternoon, Marjorie and 2 board members were escorted out of the clubhouse in handcuffs, their faces pale, defeated, and splashed across every news channel. Neighbors cheered as the arrests unfolded. Many had secretly suffered under the HOA's tyranny, but never had proof strong enough to take them down. 63. I stood with them, feeling a bond forming, a shared relief, a victory for everyone who had endured the HOA's bullying tactics. The sheriff approached me once more, offering a rare smile. "Your cameras just exposed one of the worst HOA abuses we've ever seen." "I just wanted peace," I replied. "Not a trench in my yard." The county's legal team began compiling charges, stacking one violation on top of another like bricks in a wall that would bury the HOA for good. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the last of the dirt was compacted, my yard nearly restored, though the memory of the trench carved itself permanently into my thoughts. Reporters continued calling, wanting interviews, angles, exclusive footage, but I declined them all. My priority was reclaiming my life, not fame. That night, as peace finally settled over my home, I sat on the porch replaying the footage, watching the same people who tried to trap me walk themselves wry. I stepped out of my truck cautiously, my boots crunching against the gravel as I scanned the trench again. Even in the rising daylight, the cut ran so deep and so dangerously close to my house that it felt less like vandalism and more like an attempted demolition. I walked along the edge, noticing the tool marks, clean, mechanical, calculated, not the work of amateurs or teenagers out for fun. Someone professional had been here, and they'd been here with a purpose. The early morning chill hit me harder when I saw something glinting under the loose dirt. It looked like a scrap of metal, no, a broken tag, torn off from machinery. I picked it up with 2 fingers. The serial number was partially visible, but the most chilling part was the tiny engraved text. Municipal equipment, authorized use only. HOA didn't have access to city equipment. Not legally, anyway. I slipped the tag into my jacket pocket and stepped back toward my door, but my mind was a whirlwind. Why would they go this far? Cutting a trench around someone's property wasn't an intimidation tactic. This was sabotage. This was a message. And the message wasn't subtle. They wanted me boxed in, trapped, isolated. Maybe they thought I'd panic. Maybe they thought I'd give up. As soon as I stepped inside, my phone buzzed again. Another notification from my security system. Motion detected at 3:48 a.m. This time I tapped the image open instantly. It loaded slowly, the screen going fuzzy before sharpening enough for a clear view. Headlights, big ones. A dump truck easing down the street like it belonged there. And behind it, 3 men wearing reflective vests, but the pattern wasn't city standard. Their movements were quick and efficient. They cut the trench with practiced precision, using the truck's hydraulic arm to scoop out perfect slices of earth. They weren't improvising, they'd done this before. And the most terrifying detail, they weren't even trying to hide. They acted like they had full auth. I replayed that smirk 3 times before I finally forced myself to stop. Getting angry wouldn't help, at least not yet. I needed to be strategic. And more importantly, I needed to think like them. What was their next move? Was this trench step 1? Step 2? Or the finale of a plan already set in motion? I sat at the kitchen table, the hum of my refrigerator sounding louder than usual in the tense silence. I opened my laptop and pulled up local ordinances, property codes, emergency excavation laws. It didn't take long to confirm what I already suspected. Everything they did, every scoop of dirt, every inch of that trench was illegal. But knowing that and proving it were 2 different things. The HOA had connections. They had people in their pocket. They had power. And people with power get sloppy when they think nobody is watching. But I had been watching all night, and I had the footage. I leaned back, rubbing my temples as the sun finally broke over the horizon, warming the tops of the trees. A normal morning should have been peaceful, but today it felt like the beginning of a war. And wars weren't won with panic. They were won with information. I had some. I needed more. My phone vibrated again. A text from my neighbor, Lisa. Hey, something weird happened. HOA trucks were driving around late last night. Are you okay? For a moment, I debated how much to tell her. In a neighborhood full of whispers and power games, trust was worth more than money. But Lisa had always been straight with me. She wasn't part of the HOA circle. She hated them as much as I did. I typed back, check your cameras if you have any. Something big went down. Her reply came quickly. I'll check now. I thought I heard engines. Meet in 10. I hesitated before agreeing. The trench had isolated me physically, but being isolated socially too would be a disaster. I needed allies, even one. So I texted back, yeah, bring coffee if you can. She sent a thumbs up. They're going to claim I stored illegal materials on my property, I said. The trench creates a perfect perimeter for the story. Lisa shook her head in disbelief. This is insane. They can't get away with that. They think they can. I stood up, adrenaline rising. Tonight, I repeated. Whatever they're planning happens tonight. We need help, she said. We will get it, I replied. But not from the HOA. And not from the city. Lisa frowned. Then from who? I tapped the folder icon on my phone, my backup plan. The state investigators. I filed a complaint months ago. They ignored me then. But what I have now changes everything. I selected 10 of the clearest video frames and attached them to an email with a subject line that wasn't subtle. Urgent. HOA criminal activity. Immediate review required. Then I hit send. Will they respond fast? Lisa asked. They will, I said with confidence. Because this isn't a petty complaint. This is state-level criminal evidence. But even as I said it, a car engine rumbled outside. Not the sound of a neighbor. This was bigger, slower. A black SUV rolled to a stop near my driveway. Tinted windows. No plats. Lisa whispered. Please tell me that's not them. I peeked through the blinds. It's them, I said. And there early. The SUV door opened, and a man in a suit stepped out. Not the trench guys, someone higher. His shoes didn't touch dirt. He walked carefully around it, like it was a trophy he admired. He approached my door and knocked once. Calmly, confidently. "Mr. Carter," he said in a controlled, rehearsed voice. "We need to speak. Now." Lisa grabbed my arm. "Don't open it." But I already knew the rules. If I didn't open the door, they'd claim I was hiding something. And with the trench outside, they could twist that narrative fast. I unlocked the door but kept the chain on, opening it just enough to meet his gaze. "What do you want?" I asked. He smiled. The suited man adjusted his tie as if he were preparing for a press conference rather than facing the homeowner he'd just ambushed. His eyes flicked past me into the hallway, scanning for anything he could later twist into a violation. "We noticed some concerning activity on your property," he began, voice dripping with rehearsed authority. "And the association believes it's in everyone's best interest if we resolve these concerns before things escalate further." I stared at him through the gap in the chain door. "You mean the trench you illegally cut around my home at 4 in the morning?" He chuckled softly, as if amused that I dared say it out loud. "Mr. Carter, please, let's not accuse anyone of things we can't prove." He didn't know. He didn't know I had recordings. Not yet. Lisa stood behind me, gripping her coffee cup so tightly her knuckles had turned white. She leaned close and whispered, "They're trying to intimidate you. Don't give them anything." I gave her the smallest nod before turning back to the man. "What exactly do you think I've done wrong?" I asked calmly. His smile widened. "We received reports that hazardous materials may be stored on your property. Chemical drums, specifically. The trench is a safety measure to ensure containment until the matter is cleared." My blood boiled. They were already spinning their story. "There are no chemicals on my property," I said. "Well," he replied smoothly, "that's what we're here to confirm. So, Mr. Carter, you'll let us inspect the grounds, yes?" It wasn't a question. It was an expectation. I kept my breathing steady. "Unless you have a warrant," I said. "You're not stepping foot past this door." The smile vanished from his face. His jaw tightened for the first time. "There's no need to involve legalities," he said coldly. "Not unless you have something to hide." Lisa took a step forward. "He doesn't. But you clearly do." He shot her a look sharp enough to cut steel. "This is an association matter. Neighbors should stay in their lane." Lisa didn't back down. "I live here. That makes this my lane." His glare lingered on her before returning to me. "Very well," he said. "If you wish to play games, Mr. Carter, we can escalate this through formal channels. But I assure you, the outcome won't be favorable." He tapped the doorframe twice, almost ceremonially, then turned and walked back to the SUV. As the door closed, my heartbeat thundered in my chest. Lisa exhaled shakily. "They're desperate," she whispered. "They know you're onto them." I nodded. "Which means they'll make a mistake soon." The SUV didn't leave. It simply rolled a few yards away and parked facing my house. Waiting. Watching. "They're not going anywhere," Lisa said. "Good," I replied. "Let them watch." I opened my laptop again and checked my email. No response yet from the state investigators. But the sent message had been marked opened. "They saw it," I said. "They're reviewing it right now." Lisa stepped behind me, breathing a little easier. "Then we have a chance." But before we could even finish that thought, my doorbell rang again. Not one. Not two. 12 rapid chimes, an HOA signal I'd heard before. This time, I didn't even need the camera. They'd sent reinforcements. 3 HOA board members stood outside, flanking the suited man like a crooked counsel. Clipboards out, pens ready, faces twisted with a smug blend of authority and malice. "This is a wellness inspection," one of them announced loudly, projecting his voice so the SUV could hear. "Under Section 14B, we have the right to verify the safety of this residence." I stepped outside, closing the door behind me just enough so Lisa wasn't visible. "You have no such right," I said firmly. The woman on the left flipped a page dramatically. "Failing to comply will But the suited man wasn't done. He took one step forward and said quietly, "You don't understand the full picture, Mr. Carter. We're not the only ones involved." His tone wasn't threatening. It was a warning, which made it worse. "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means," he said calmly, "you've made enemies beyond this neighborhood, and some of them won't wait for paperwork." Lisa's face turned pale through the window. Footsteps echoed from the street. 2 officers approaching. Their presence shifted the entire atmosphere. The HOA board members straightened, plastering innocent expressions on their faces. "What's going on here?" the lead officer asked. I pointed at the trench. Illegal excavation, threats, attempted forced entry. The officers exchanged looks. This wasn't a normal HOA complaint. "Sir," the officer said to the suited man, "do you have any permits for this work?" His jaw twitched. It was a precaution, not what I asked. The second officer circled the trench, whistling under his breath. "This is deep. Too deep. This looks like commercial equipment." Lisa stepped outside finally. Because it was. They used city machines. The suited man snapped, "You have no proof of that." I held up my phone. "I have everything." I played the footage from 3:48 a.m., the screen bright in the morning sun. The officers leaned in. Their expressions hardened instantly. The trenches, the men, the barrels, the plates, everything clear. "Sir," the officer said slowly, "you and your team are detained for questioning." The board members panicked. One tried to run. The officer grabbed him by the arm. "You're not going anywhere." The suited man didn't fight. He simply lifted his hands and said softly, "This won't stop what's coming." A chill ran through me. "What does that mean?" I demanded. He looked at the trench. That wasn't the end of the plan. It was the beginning. As he was escorted to the SUV, he said one fina. Lisa gripped my arm. "Who's coming? What is he talking about?" I swallowed hard. Someone above them. Someone they work for. And suddenly the trench made terrible sense. It wasn't meant to trap me. It was meant to isolate me. The officers secured the area, marking the trench and blocking access. "We'll send investigators," one said. "This is beyond HOA jurisdiction. This is criminal." I thanked them, but my mind was spinning. If tonight was the real threat, then whatever the HOA did was just a setup. Lisa paced. "We need to leave." I shook my head. "If we leave, we lose the evidence. They'll plant whatever they want." She bit her lip. "Then what do we do?" I looked at the cameras. "We watch, and we catch them again." 154. I doubled the camera coverage, adding temporary battery cams around the property, hidden in the trees, on the fence, even under my truck. Lisa helped without hesitation. "We're going to outsmart them," she said. By noon, investigators arrived state level just like I hoped. They examined the trench, photographed the barrels, and took the trackers into evidence. Their presence gave the neighborhood a kind of hush. HOA members peeked from behind curtains, nervous and pale. One investigator approached me. "Mr. Carter," he said, "what you sent us is bigger than you know. We've been tracking this HOA for months." I raised an eyebrow. "Tracking them for what?" He looked at the trench. "For organized fraud." Lisa gasped. The investigator continued, "This isn't just your neighborhood. They've been using associations across the state as fronts for property seizures. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. And I'm the next target, I said quietly. Yes, he replied. But now they know we're on them. Evening approached slowly, shadows stretching long across the yard. The trench looked like a scar in the earth. Ugly, deep, intentional.